Welcome back to Sustainability in Asia. My name is Nick Merritt, a finance partner based in Singapore at Norton Rhodes Fulbright. I'm delighted today to be joined by Kevin Harnisch, who's our Head of Regulations, Investigations and Securities in the United States. Welcome, Kevin.
Hey, Nick, thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to discussing these issues with you.
Kevin, we noticed recently that the SEC had set up a new task force on climate change and ESG. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. I mean, let me begin by saying, I think the ESG Enforcement Task Force really marks a seismic shift in how the SEC is viewing the importance of ESG disclosures. For all practical purposes, the SEC hasn't really made any meaningful pronouncements in that space since issuing some very general guidance all the way back in 2010. And since then, the SEC's resisted proposing specific ESG disclosure rules or standards. But however, due to market pressures, including public and social pressure, many companies have been moving towards voluntarily making ESG disclosures, and those necessarily have varied greatly in form and specificity given the lack of any centralized standard. So while the SEC considers whether to propose certain uniform disclosure standards, its new ESG Enforcement Task Force is going to be investigating the accuracy, quality, and completeness of ESG disclosures of public companies. And I just offer this to keep in mind. Task forces like this need to justify their existence, so I expect them to be active. And I suspect the Commission will incorporate concerns they develop during those investigations into what will certainly be a rulemaking process that'll be coming down the road here pretty soon.
And for companies in Asia, what do you think this means?
Sure, that's a good question. I would offer a few thoughts to keep in mind. The obvious one is any company in Asia that's publicly traded in the US, including having ADRs listed in the US, they're certainly subject to having any ESG disclosures they make scrutinized by the SEC. But importantly, SEC scrutiny can also extend to Asian operations of US-based public companies. Because remember, if a company chooses to make ESG disclosures, they must be complete and materially accurate. So if a company has significant Asian operations or Asian subsidiaries, any ESG disclosures that the US parent company makes must accurately reflect the reality of its exposure to those risks in Asia. So what that means, that can result in the SEC seeking information from people in Asia on those disclosure related issues. And let me offer one other thing to keep in mind. While much of the chatter and commentary has been about the presumed focus on corporate issuer disclosures, there's been a huge increase in ESG focused investment funds from all around the world, including Asia. And for SEC registered funds, one can absolutely expect the SEC to be scrutinizing those funds' disclosures to their investors about their approaches to ESG evaluation and related investment decisions, how those funds are allocating their capital, and whether their actual investment activity is consistent with the fund's stated investment objectives. So all of those can reach out to companies and people sitting in Asia and not necessarily in the United States.
So it's going to be a very live issue for corporates, given the reach and interest of the SEC.
Oh, just simply being located in Asia outside of the United States is no insulation to coming under potential scrutiny.
Thanks very much for joining us, Kevin.